Hello everyone, Nicky Hawkins here, West Ham Fan TV, here with a brand new show that I like to call Monday Musings, where I will be going through all the stuff that's come over the weekend, not necessarily to do with the football, but to do with quotes in the press, things to do with West Ham in general. Then I'm going to be going on Twitter to get your thoughts about that too. I'll give you 3 subjects to go through every week. I'll tweet it out on a Sunday night or Monday morning, and you can give me the feedback, and I'll go through that as well as my thoughts on the subjects. Now, the first thing I tweeted out the other day was, is Dimitri Payet right to consider a move away from West Ham? And what he actually said is this. We, this is quoting him. We've had a very poor start to the season. Will I go in January? I'm asking myself other questions right now, but I've closed the door to nothing. He dismissed Paris Saint-Germain and Marseille, saying he hasn't spoken to them, but he didn't say that he wouldn't move. Now, is he right to consider that? I mean, considering the start we've had, considering the Euros he had, the season he had last season, I'm going to upset a few people here, but yes, he is right to consider a move away. We only seem to get some world-class players. When you think about the world-class players that West Ham have had, especially in my lifetime, I can name 3 or 4 that haven't come through our academy, but I can name 3 or 4 that have been transferred in, and I'm talking about real world-class players. Now, 2 that I'm going to get off the hat straight away is Paolo Di Canio and Carlos Tevez. Now, every time we sign a world-class player, it seems to be under a cloud. Paolo Di Canio we only signed because he pushed the referee over back in the January of that year. So he was a long ban. Nobody wanted to touch him in football. We came along and he turned out to be one of the best moves ever in the Premier League history, I would say. He was our talisman for a long time. And when you go forward to the Carlos Tevez deal, I mean, I'm not even quite sure what that was. It was a move, a loan move. He didn't belong to it. It was some craziness. So anytime we ever seem to get a world-class player, it seems to be under a cloud. Now with Dimitri, we got him for a very, very good price last year, £10 million. He had the season of his life last year, and let's be fair, he was one of Europe's top players, and he still is. If you look at the Euros he had, the season he had last year, even we consider him to be having a poor start to the season this year, but he scored a world-class goal against Middlesbrough. He's still getting assists left, right and centre. Now, I'm sure that over the summer, the Davids would have promised him a lot to keep him there. He signed a new contract. He obviously likes West Ham. He obviously loves being with the club and loves the reputation and repertoire with the fans. But I don't think the club has matched his ambition. And I think for a player like Dimitri, who's at the top of his game, he's in such a late stage of his career, it doesn't seem to be progressing forward. And we've seen this so many times with West Ham that, we take 2 steps forward and we take 5 back. Every time we do this, it just knocks us back. And usually it ends up in a championship. Now, with the stadium move, that can't happen. If that does happen, it'll be a disaster for us this time. But the club isn't matching Dimitri's ambition, He's looked upon to be carrying the team. He's looked upon to be our main man, and I'm sure he wanted the big name striker or the quality of player that matches his ambition to drive the team forward. I'm sure he wanted to be. I'm sure they promised him that they'd be challenging for Champions League and things like that, which is, I think, totally unrealistic. But if they'd put their money where their mouth is, you never know what might have been. So, yes, I'm going to say he is right to consider a move away to further his career. He's not a West Ham fan. He doesn't support West Ham. He came here. He's got a brilliant bond with the fans, but so did any other players as well. So did Carlos Tevez. But for the sake of his career, look what he achieved when he moved away. I feel he's right to consider a move away. Now, it might change. The ambition of the club might change. We might see some signings in January, but if it doesn't, I can see Dimitri leaving, and I think he would be right to leave too. Now, I put this question out on Twitter. Let's have a look at what some of you guys said. You said to me, first of all, JNO United said, he's a world-class player, and if he doesn't feel like West Ham is going to become a big stage for him at his age, yes. And that's exactly what I said. I'm sure they promised him the world and they haven't delivered anything. The same as us fans as well. Next one is John Groom 76 said, he can't consider a move away. He is under contract. Only club consider selling him. Right, he can't consider a move away. He's under contract. Only the club can consider selling him. Yes, that is true, but there is no point in having an unhappy player at a football club. Contracts are not worth the paper they're printed on these days. We've seen so many times before. There's so much stuff they can do, and you know, if a club like Real Madrid, PSG, someone in the Champions League and with a good chance of winning it, are you really going to stand in a man's way? Especially if they're offering the sort of money that we're going to be wanting for him, which I would imagine would be 40, 50, 60 million pounds. I'm sure they won't turn that down, especially if the player wants to move. It was different in the summer. There was rumours all through the summer, obviously during the Euros, would he go? But I think they would consider selling him. So, and last but not least, Adrian _SMDC says, he's top class and he's 29 now, so if a chance to move to a Champions League team was offered, I'd understand him wanting to go. And yes, I've got to say, I would understand him wanting to go as well. I'm not saying I want him to go, but I'm saying that he would be crazy not to consider a move away. And I think we've only got ourselves as a club to blame, not the fans. The fans love him. The fans never want him to leave. People get offended by just the sheer notion of you suggesting that he might want to leave, but it looks like he does want to leave. So if the club would have matched his ambition, I'm sure it would have been different, but they haven't, and I think he'll be considering a move away, if not in January, definitely in the summer. Now, next order of business is this. Are West Ham setting up fans to be banned from games? And what I mean by this is, we see on Saturday there was no trouble, and Stoke are quite a volatile club, so there could have been trouble. There was no trouble. They seemed to get the segregation right. Block 114 obviously was emptied and it was taken, and the guys were moved into block, I believe it's 118, but I'm not quite sure about that. But I sit in block 229 and I could see everything from where I was sitting. Now, I saw a block that they were standing up, fair enough. I know that's a big no-no in our club, and I believe that like the banning orders for standing in our club are excessive. I'm not quite understanding of what they're trying to do there. Ban for life for standing up is ridiculous, and there's some people, including myself, that think there might be a bit of social cleansing going on here. The rebrand of the club and things like that, and the culture of the club is not what the board and the new stadium owners want inside their stadium, and they're trying their hardest and their best to get these people out of the stadium and ban them, for life. But that's hearsay. That's just opinion. But what I saw on Saturday was in block 118. The crowd standing there chanting with their own fans. There wasn't nothing racial. There wasn't nothing enticing, incitement on away fans. It was just block 118 and block 119 having a bit of banter between each other. Now, for some reason, about 30 minutes into the game, a load of stewards came in, started to try and calm people down, and then for no reason whatsoever, what I can only describe as a SWAT team come in with these bright yellow caps, which are, I believe, a step up from stewards that are there to start to sort of identify people and chuck people out. And then for no reason whatsoever, bearing in mind all the trouble we've had at the stadium between infighting and things like that, the police came in with riot gear. Now, I thought this was absolutely ridiculous. There was nothing going on. Now, I questioned this on Post-Match Pint. We did speak about this briefly on Post-Match Pint. Did they send them in to try and create trouble so there are some volatile people and that they can start chucking them out? Now, I said it wasn't West Ham. It's probably more to do with the owners of the stadium, but you can't rule it out. And I posed that question out to you on Twitter, and this is what somebody had to say. Joe WHU_ said, yeah, the board want to get rid of the hooligan reputation our fans have got and replace them with people who will happily just go to games, sit there, buy merchandise, spend big money, essentially swapping the die-hard fans for the corporate. Do you know what? I quite agree with that. That is a very short-sighted approach if that is the case from the board, because if that is what they're trying to do, they're going to become a cropper when it comes to future seasons, especially the way we're performing this season on the pitch. You know, the die-hard fans are the ones that turn in, week out, whether we're in the Premier League, Championship, whatever. So they have to start to get rid of all these people when we are not doing so well like we are this year. That 55k waiting list that they are adamant that they've got, it then becomes 10k because the 45,000 people that joined on just because it was the first stadium at the Olympic Stadium, and the fact we had such a good season last year, all of a sudden don't want to go anymore because we're not doing too well, and West Ham are not the attractive club that they were last year. So very short-sighted from the board of that. Bonds is God, which is at West WHU FC Messiah, says it feels that way. It does to me too as well. At Melman Anthony says, those mugs are out to clean the real fans out for standing. Are they for fucking real? I hate this board. Now, there is a lot to go over with the board, and we'll do that another day, I'm sure. But I just pose this question. Adrian _SMDC, most probably with Karen Brady at the club. Now, this seems to be a trend between fans, is that the fact that they think that Karen Brady's behind this. When you look at the branding, the rebranding of the club, and things like that, it doesn't look great, does it? You know, so is it time for Brady to go? Maybe that's a question for another time. Mick _Martini says, out of interest, does anybody know of any stadium bands? They said 200 after the Chelsea game. Sorry, Mick, I don't know. At Howardinho, Jim Smith says, short-sighted policy, they will end up losing the real fans. I totally agree with that. They will end up losing the real fans. The people that are there week in, week out when we was in the Championship are starting to lose interest, myself included. A couple of the West Ham Fan TV boys are sort of questioning whether they want to renew their season tickets, and we do this as a channel. So yeah, I totally agree there, mate. Very short-sighted policy. And at West Ham, Shout says, yes, definitely. Got Karen Brady's rebranding idea all over it, mate. Disgusting beyond anything in football. And if it's the case, I mean, you're never going to prove it, but you know, you can sort of talk between each other as fans. I believe that if that is the case and that is true, it is beyond anything in football to drive your own fans out of a football club because they don't fit your new philosophy and your new way of thinking and your new corporate structure. If that's the case, then I'm afraid to say West Ham United are dead as a club, and you know, we should be worried. This should worry people. Subject: should we be applying to extend the capacity further when there are still so many problems in the stadium? Actually, nobody tweeted on this. I think they was all interested in the Payet and is the club setting up fans. But I'll give my opinion on it anyway. No, definitely not. The stadium is not right. The stadium is not working properly. I don't know where these people are gonna be sitting. I believe it's another one of those things with the club where they want to extend the capacity, obviously, because it means more money for them. I don't care about their money, to be quite honest with you. I haven't seen significant investment on the pitch, especially for the TV money we've come. So I don't care whether they're putting money in their pockets. Unless they're investing it on the pitch, I don't give a monkeys, to be quite honest with you, whether we have 57,000 or 66,000. Another reason why I think they want to extend it to 66,000 so desperately is because they obviously part of the Olympic Stadium, what do you call it? The Olympic Stadium agreement was that we would give so many tickets a year to Newham Council. Obviously, the more people in there, the more they have a chance to reduce the amount of paying customers they have to lose out for tickets. So an extra 9,000 probably for the season will cover the allocation, and they will still be getting the same money that they are now, selling 57,000 tickets. But we've seen some real problems in that stadium. The attitudes of some of the staff there, people are getting disillusioned with it. I heard chants on Saturday after all that nonsense down in Block 118 saying, you know, West Ham United, they treat us like shit. And I'm inclined to agree that they do treat us like shit. They are relying that we're not going to go anywhere, but it's getting to the point now when the hardcore fans that have been going for 30 years, especially with the change of stadium and everything like that, they feel like West Ham United is dying, and I think that would stop going. There's a lot there that are considering going. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm talking about boys on my channel that are sort of talking about they don't want to renew their season ticket next year, and they may not, you know, and things like that. And these people have been going all their lives, you know. Don't bank on people not going anymore, because the club has changed. You know, people are feeling that the club is dying. So why extend the capacity now? Get the problem sorted with the amount you've got. Let's see how it goes for a couple of years. Let's see how it goes when we have a bad season in the Premier League, like we're having at the moment. Let's see how many people are still on the waiting list then. Let's see how many people actually demand, because even the tickets I'm seeing now in the stadium, I'm seeing the stadium now, it's not always full. There's always empty seats all over the stadium. I think it's important that you have, not the illusion, but I think it's important that you feel what you've got before you start extending it. I mean, it's the whole thing. I mean, Cameron Brady called this stadium move the most successful stadium migration in history. I don't know where she's coming from that. It's got to be one of the most unsuccessful, because, you know, there's been stadium people saying that the place needs to be torn down, and I can see it being torn down within the next 20 years, because the place is just, it's not fit for football. But, you know, extending it, no, I don't think so. I don't think they should be looking at that just at this particular moment in time. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us on this edition of, well, the first edition of Monday Musings with me, Nicky Hawkins. Don't forget to go and check. We have a show called On The Social as well. If you want to go and join in with that, that's when you get to send in the questions and we get people to answer them. Graham was with Phil Parks last week. I know the audio wasn't great, but we will be with him again for the Liverpool game when we play Liverpool away. So we'll get the audio and things like that right there. So send your questions in on the social. We always have a guest and they answer the questions from you the best they can. I'll be back next next Monday. I've got to say before I go, a big massive congratulations to our very own Aaron Cresswell, who got in the England squad just today. So it was unexpected, because I see the list, and you, as a West Ham fan, you get used to not seeing West Ham names in there. Obviously Antonio missed out, which I think was a bit crazy, but that's a question for another day. But big congratulations to Aaron Cresswell, a fully deserved England call-up, and I think he'll be England's left back for a few years once he gets the chance to play and impress. I don't think he'll let anyone down. We've seen him for many years. So thanks for that. Don't forget to go and check out all the weekend's post-match point from the Stoke game. Disappointing, yeah, it was. It's about a 50-minute show this week. All the fan cams from the Stoke game, all this content we've got throughout the week, they'll be on the social, there'll be the FIFA preview, all of that good stuff. But go and follow us on Twitter at West Ham Fan TV. Go and visit our store on our website, www.westhamfan.tv. We're working on some new designs. Thank you for joining us for this edition. One thing left to say, come on you irons.